Okay, so we're continuing on this unit 4. We're continuing slope. So let me find the right page. So this unit so far has had a lot of graphing and things like that going on. We've done the domain and range from the graph. We did slope, like counting the slope on the graph last time, and then we did counting slope from a table. So today we're going to do slope with the slope formula. So if you want to just title this slope continued, you can title it that. You don't need to cut anything out yet, because the first page, I'm just going to give you the problems. There's no reason to have them where you had to cut and paste them. So first thing I want to do is give you the slope formula, because there's a formula for slope. Personally, I like doing it from the table better, and I'm going to show you both using the formula and using the table today, which we did the table last time, so you should kind of already know, but we'll just practice it a little more. But if you like the formula, that's great too. You probably will want to have your calculator out for that if you're going to use the formula. So if you don't have a calculator, y'all go ahead and get one now. Just don't hit the camera. But make sure you've got a calculator. No, you have to scoot that way so that we don't walk in front of the camera. Scoot like this group. Scoot that way so she can come back here. There we go. And the reason I'm saying get a calculator is because you guys still mess up negatives and positives a lot, and you have a calculator that's a tool for you to use. There's no reason for you to miss problems adding and subtracting negative and positive numbers when you have a calculator sitting on your desk that can help you out with those. Okay, so that's really frustrating for a math teacher for you to miss those when you have a tool that can help you get those right. Here's the formula. The formula is, so just write this out first, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And it looks really complicated, but I'm going to show you what everything means. It's not that complicated. That m right there is the variable used for slope.
Does this say x2 minus x1?
x2 minus x1 on the bottom. Okay, so the m is the variable used for slope. So anytime you see the little letter m, the lowercase letter m, that's the variable for slope. Okay, so basically all you're doing on the top is you're subtracting the two y numbers. And then on the bottom you're subtracting the x numbers. And this is if you're given 2 points. Because if you have 2 points, the first point could be x1, y1, and the second point could be x2, y2.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Sure. So if you have 2 points, x1, y1 is the first point, x2, y2 is the second point. So all you're doing is you're taking the y numbers, so this one minus this one, and then over this x minus this x. You're just plugging in the numbers and getting a fraction. Okay, so we're going to practice that on about 4 of these, and I'm going to show you how to do it with the formula, and then I'm going to show you how we did it last time with the table. Because I just like to do it from the table, but you're doing the same exact thing. Okay, number 1. My 2 points are 2, 3, and 4, 7. 2, 3, and 4, 7. So what I want you to do first is go ahead above those, label them. This one's x1, this one's y1. So the first point is x1, y1. The second point, x2, y2. And then we're just going to plug in to our formula. So the first thing I need is y2 number minus y1 number. So what's my y2 number?
7.
7. So 7 minus 3. That goes on top. Okay, then I need the x numbers. I need x2, 4, minus x1, 2. That goes on bottom. What's 7 minus 3?
4.
4. What's 4 minus 2?
2.
And 4 over 2 will reduce to
2.
2 over 1 or just 2. You can use either one of these and I'm okay with that. If you leave it 2 over 1, that's fine, or if you want to put a 2, that's fine.
I do this.
Okay? So you're just subtracting. Let me show you on the tables. This is how we did it last time. You would put 2, 3 on the table. You would put 4, 7 on the table. And from 2 to 4, you had to add 2. And from 3 to 7, you're adding 4. And if you look, the 4 goes on top, the 2 goes on bottom. It reduces to 2 over 1. It's the same thing. This is the same thing as this. This is just more visual. This is just using a formula. So whichever one works the best for you, that's what you need to use. Okay? However you can figure out slope, you do it. If you have to get a graph paper and put the points on there and count the little triangles because you're really good at that, then use that. That's not as time efficient, but I mean, if that's how you find slope, that's how you find slope. Not everybody's going to use the same method. All right, so this is the formula. This is the table we used last time. It's all the same answer. Number 2. Number 2 is going to be negative 5, 2 is the first point. 7, negative 6 is the second point. Okay, so this one's going to throw a few kinks in the formula for you because you've got negatives here. And sometimes when you subtract a negative, you guys mess that up a little bit. So please use your calculators. This is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. So on top, I need the y2 number. What is that? Negative 6. Minus the y1 number. Positive 2. Ouch. Okay, somebody rescue that calculator. All right, negative 6 minus 2 on top. Now I need x2 number on the bottom. What's the x2 number? 7. Minus, what's the x1 number? Negative 5. So right there, this right here, is the part you got to worry about. If you're not using a calculator, that's the part you're going to be worrying about. So on the top, you're going to do negative 6 minus 2. They're both negatives, so that's going to give you negative 8. On the bottom, a double negative right here ends up changing to adding, and 7 plus 5 is 12. Okay, or you can type in the calculator negative 6 minus 2, get that top answer, and then 7 minus negative 5 and get that answer. You're going to get negative 8 over 12. Yes?
I have a double negative. I thought you could just change that to like one negative.
No. Yeah, because it turns to positive, so it changes the whole answer. That's where a lot of people mess up. So yeah, you need both the minus sign and the negative sign. Yes.
So if they're both like, if they're like a double negative, then you always change it just to adding?
Just adding.
Okay.
Yes, every time. Okay, so on this negative 8 over 12, some of you are really good at reducing fractions, some of you not so much. So on your calculator, you would type in negative 8 divided by 12, like that, and hit math, the button right underneath the green button, and then enter, and the calculator will reduce it for you. There is no reason for you to miss reducing either. Okay, that one's negative 2 over 3. Yes?
On the calculators, when it has like the solving things where the equal sign's in the middle, what buttons would
You can't type that into the calculator and get an answer.
click on?
Okay, so no, you can't type an equation in the calculator and just get it to give you an answer. It's not going to do that. Actually, it'll give you an answer. It won't be the right answer. I'll put it that way. Okay, so reduce that on the calculator if you're not good at reducing. If you're good at reducing, you know you just divided by 4 on the top and the bottom.
So you counted wrong if we let 8 over negative.
I would count points off. I wouldn't count it completely wrong. But I would take some points off. It's not reduced. Okay, next one. 1, 2, and 5, 2. This one's kind of special. This is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. So I need the y2 number minus the y1 number on top. What's that going to be?
It'll be, oh, it's gonna cancel out, right?
2 minus 2. Yeah, it's going to cancel out to 0. And then on the bottom, I'm going to have 5 minus 1. So I end up with 0 over 4. Okay, I want you to go to your calculator and type in 0 divided by 4. And tell me what you get.
0.
0. So you can do that. 0 divided by 4 is still 0. So the slope on this one is 0. What kind of line is that?
Undefined?
No. It's horizontal, this
No
way.
constant check.
It's like slope dude's mouth,
No slope.
right? So it's 0 slope, flat.
I didn't.
Okay, so number 4. 2, 1, and 2, 5. So we're just switching the points that we had before. So this is x1, this is y1. So on the top, we're going to subtract the y's. So I have 5 minus 1 on top, and 2 minus 2 on bottom.
Same as.
No.
You get 4 over 0, so this time type 4 divided by 0 in your calculator and see what happens.
It's gonna be a negative.
When you do that, I call this, it growls at you. The calculator says error, okay? That's an error. You cannot divide by 0, it's not allowed. If that ever happens, if you do your slope and it says error, this one's undefined.
So that's what we just
The
write
other
as
one's no.
answers?
The other one's 0.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not.
No slope and undefined are the same thing. 0 slope and undefined are not the same thing.
Huh?
0 slope is flat.
No, I'm
Undefined sometimes is called no slope. Some people call that no slope,
I
but
know,
it's
that's
straight
what I'm
up.
talking
You
about.
can't draw a line and make it, anyway.
Right. So it's not the same as this one. This one's the up and down vertical one. This one's the horizontal flat. And remember, you can do these on the table. If you'd rather do them with the table instead of the formula, you're welcome to do that. Like if you'd rather put them on the table and find the change, then that'll work. Okay, I need all 3 of your graphs cut out, but you can kind of leave them all together.
You said you can leave it to me.
Yeah, just leave them all stuck together. We're going to glue them down the side of the next page and write beside them instead.
What about, tables with?
We're going to use those in a minute, not right now. Okay, so the next page, you're going to glue these 3 graphs down the side of this page like this. Just going down the side. Zoom out. Like that. Okay, so get those 3 glued down, just down the side of the page. And then the title of this page is Graphing a Line with a Point and Slope. We're just going to practice graphing a line. graphs better.
Okay.
Graphing a line with a point and slope. Okay, let me zoom in. So on this first graph, we're going to be given a point. We're going to be given a slope. And I'm going to use M for slope because that means the same thing. So slope has lots of different things that you can use for it. You can use the little triangle y over triangle x. You can say rise over run. You can just say slope. You can say M. Lots of different things. So I'm given a point and I'm given a slope. So first thing I'm going to do, what one of those two things do I know automatically how to put on this graph? I have a point and I have a slope. Which one's the easiest one to put on the graph? The point. Okay, because you guys have graphed points for a long time. So let's put the point on the graph. So -3, +1 is right here. So go ahead and put that point on the graph. And then before we do anything else, I want you to understand that when you go up on a graph, that's a positive. So if you say the phrase things are looking up, that's a positive thing in your life. So up is positive. To the right is also positive. So positive up, positive to the right. So like I'm positive I'm always right, which I'm not, but just go with it. That's positive. So positive to the right, positive up. Left, to the left is negative. On the graph and in Beyonce's song, both. It's a negative thing to the left. All right, going down is negative. If you're feeling down, that's a negative thing. So this is negative, this is negative. So you've got to kind of remember that. Okay, so my slope over here is 2/3. They're both positive, right? So that means I'm going to go, this is the up and down number. This is the sideways number. So I'm going to start at my point and I'm going to go up 2. And then after that, I'm going to go over 3 to the right. And I'm going to put a dot. So I went up 2, and then over 3 to the right. And then put your next dot. And then you can go up 2 again, over 3 to the right. Put your next dot. And you can do that all the way across the graph if you wanted. Okay, so up 2, over 3. It is going to be a positive line. Okay, here's one thing I want you to understand though. What if I change that slope to -2 over -3? A negative over a negative becomes what?
A positive.
A positive. So this is the same as this. -2 over -3 is the same as +2 over +3. Which means if I start back at my point and go down 2 and to the left 3, am I going to still end up on the same line? Does that still line up? Yeah. So down 2 to the left 3. Okay, so connect all those dots. Make you a straight line if you can. If you've got your ID badge, that makes a great straight edge. If not, just kind of wing it. Make a line there. Okay, so you see how this is those stair steps? How every time you go up and over, you're hitting that same exact line. Did y'all see that? That's the stair steps like we talked about the other day. Except for I do these on top of the line instead of underneath the line, but it's the same thing. Okay, when you graph your lines, you have to have at least 3 points. I don't care if you go all the way across the graph. Your line needs to go across the graph, but you need to have at least 3 points somewhere on that line. Okay, after 3 points, you can stop. All right, number 2. The point is 5, 2. And the slope is -1/2. So what's the first thing I need to do? 5, 2 and -1/2. Whoops. I need to put the point on there. So 5, 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So there's my point. My slope is at -1/2. So since it's negative, either the top number can be negative or the bottom number can be negative, but they both can't be negative. Because if they're both negative, a negative over a negative becomes a positive. So only one of them can be a negative at a time. So here's your two options. Every time you have a slope, there's two options. So we're going to start at our point. Let's do the top. Let's do this one first. So if I have a negative 1 up and down, which way do I need to go? Down 1. And then positive 2 is to the right 2. So then if I went down 1 to the right 2 again, that's pretty much as far as I can go because I'm going to run out of room on that graph. Because it's down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2.
Okay, so to the right is negative, right?
To the right is positive. I'm doing this one. I went down negative, but I went positive 2. Right?
Oh, okay, I get you.
Okay, so then we're going to do this one. Go back to your red dot. And that one, the top number is positive, so we're going to go up 1, but the bottom number is negative. So which way do I go? Left 2. Up 1, left 2. And you could go all the way across the graph if you wanted. You don't really need to, but you could. You need at least 3 dots. So your graph looks like that. I don't think on tonight's homework you have any graphing to do, but you need to be able to count from the graph. So probably your next homework will have some graphing practice on it with the lines. And remember, the goal is these are linear. We need them to be a straight line because we're in linear functions. That's what the whole unit is about. If it's not a straight line, then we probably did something wrong. Okay, last one. -3, -5, and slope is -3. So the point is -3, -5. The slope is -3. So your first step is to put that dot on the graph. Put that point on the graph. So -3, -5. Okay, I don't have a top and a bottom number on this slope, so what can I do to fix that? If I need it to be a fraction.
Put a 1 over it.
Put a 1 under there, so, yeah, put -3 over 1. So since it's negative, could I switch it to something different?
No, wait, yes.
They all have two options. What's the second option?
Positive.
+3, -1. It can be either one of those. -3 over +1 or +3 over -1 still equals -3 no matter what you do. So the top number tells me up and down. So let's start with this one. -3 is down to the right 1. Can I go down again and do it again?
No.
No, I'm going to run out of room. Like there's no room on the graph, so I'm going to have to go back to my dot and do the other one now. And go up 3 and then to the left 1. Like that. And there's your line for that one. So that's just using the slope and using a point to draw the graph of the line. Everybody got that? Y'all feel okay with that? Like I said, this is not on your homework specifically tonight, but you're going to have it on future homeworks, and we're going to practice it some more, but I wanted you to kind of see how to do it. Okay, next page, let's take notes. Now we're going to do linear equation with point and slope. So we did graphing with a point and slope. Now we're going to do the equation with point and slope. Because in order for that to be the graph, there's a rule. There's a function that goes with that. Y'all remember talking about the rules, the function rules, that the input number would go in and you figure out the output number? And the rule was, whatever the rule was, it depended. Well, there's rules that cause that graph to happen. And so the equation is the same thing as the rule. So we're going to write the equation of these lines, and it's going to be in what's called point slope form. on your homework, so pay close attention to this. Alright, so point slope form. And here's what point slope form looks like. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And it looks really weird, I know, but I promise it's easy. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Okay, when we use this, these three things become numbers. And these two things stay right there and don't move. The y and the x just stay y and x. But the three things that I boxed in, you're going to stick numbers in there. And then you're just going to leave it alone. That's the equation. I know. We'll practice it. I promise. It's a lot easier than it looks. It looks really complicated, but it's not that hard. And we're going to go back to those graphs. And we're even going to go back to a couple of the ones on the first page. And we're going to write those equations out. Okay, so for example, here's how this works. For example, if I'm given the point 37 and the slope, which is m, is 1/2. And I'm supposed to write the equation. Here's what I'm going to need to do. I need a number here. I need a number here. And I need a number here. So I'm just going to plug in numbers. I'm going to get those numbers from this, this, and this. I have 3 boxes. I have 3 numbers. Y'all see that? Okay, so the point is an x and a y. The slope is my m. So y minus y1. So what's the y number? 7. 7 goes right there. Equals m. What's the m number? 1/2. And then x minus the x number, which is? 3. Ta-da, you wrote the equation. That is it.
Y'all see it?
That's it. I'm telling you, it's easy. It's really easy.
Oh.
You're just putting the numbers in. We're not doing anything with it right now. We're just writing it.
Oh, that's easy.
You can do this. This is easy.
I
Okay.
hope
The only time that it might be a little weird is if you have negative numbers. But let me show you what happens there. If my point is -2, -3, and my slope is 5. So it's y minus, here's a number, equals a number times x minus, and there's a number. So let's plug it in. Y minus the y number. What's the y number?
3, -3.
-3. So put a -3 in that little blank. Equals m. What's the m number?
5.
And then x minus the x number, -2. Okay, so here I have these 2 double negative spots. What's going to happen?
It's going to be
They
positive.
change to positive. So you change this to y plus 3 equals 5 times x plus 2. And once you get used to doing it, you don't even really have to write that step. You could probably just go ahead and say, oh, they're negatives, it needs to be plus. You see what I'm saying? Like if you know it's a negative that you're plugging in and you know it's going to change to plus, you can skip this step right here.
I get you.
But you might want to write it for the first few times just so you're good at it. Okay, cut out your 2 tables real quick. We're going to use those. And then we're going to go back and write the equation on those graphs and maybe on one of the ones on the front page. Yeah, you're gonna need them separate because you need to write some stuff around them. So just split the rest of your page up with those 2 tables. Okay, so there's a couple things we can do with these tables. I'm gonna write the equation, so I need a point. Do I have a few points to choose from?
Yep.
A bunch. And I need slope. So I've shown you more than one way to find slope. I can find slope from the whole table. Or I can find slope just using 2 points and subtracting. It's totally up to you. If it has this little f of x thing right here, that tells you it's a function. You should be okay. It's going to have an actual line. Okay? These two are pretty easy ones, so we'll just do them from the table. This first one especially, they all match. So across the top, every single time, I'm adding how many to get to the next one. So it's plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Across the bottom, what are we doing every time?
Plus 2.
Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. All the way across. So this one's pretty easy because they match perfect. It's plus 1, plus 2. Okay, so I need change in the y numbers on top. Change in the x on bottom. So it's going to be 2 over 1 or 2. That is my slope. That's my m. And then I can pick any of those points. It doesn't matter which one you use. Personally, I want to use one that's positive because I don't have to worry about switching the thing to a plus.
Does it say y or x?
Change in y over change in x equals 2 over 1, which equals just plain 2. Okay, so I'm going to use this first one, but technically you can use any of those points, which means my equation could look different from your equation if we use a different point. Okay, and that's okay. It'll still end up being the same equation. And we'll talk about that next time. We're not going to do that today. So we're going to do y minus the y number equals m times x minus the x number. So write that out. This is going to be our equation. I just have to fill in the blanks. What goes in the first blank? If I'm using this point.
2.
Is that my y number?
1.
1. I'm going to use 1 right here. M goes in this
But what is your
blank.
x number?
M goes here. 2 goes here. So this is y, this is m, this is x. Let me zoom in. Right here. Is that better? So y goes in the first one, m goes in that second one, x goes in the last one. It's the same formula we were just using. We're just finding the slope first because they didn't tell us the slope. So if they don't tell you the slope, you're going to have to figure it out and then use one of the points, whichever point you want, and write your equation. All right, number 4. Number 4 is one of the tables we did last time. From -9 to -3, you're adding 6. From -3 to +6, you're adding 9. And from 6 to 15, you're adding 9.
This is no correlation.
No, this one, it has a slope, so they all reduce to the same. We did this one last time. This one's +2, +3, +3. So I have 2 options. What are my 2 options?
6 divided by 2, 9 divided by 3.
No, we had it backwards. There we go. 2 over 6, because I need the y on top, remember? If you put the 6 on the bottom, you've got a one-legged cheerleader on the bottom. That can't happen. That'll be disaster. Okay, so we need 2 over 6 or 3 over 9. So in your calculator, or just, if you know how to reduce, reduce.
It would be
But the
3.
9 only has one leg.
It's not 3, 1/3.
1/3.
Cause it's a fraction.
Because it's a fraction, 1/3. 3 would be if 6 was on top, or if 9 was on top. This one's 1/3, that's your m. And then, let's use the 6 and the 4, because we like to stay with the positive numbers. You guys write that equation out for me. I'll write it out with the blanks. Use 6 and 4 for your point, and use 1/3 for your m. Fill in the blanks for me. You're not doing, I need you to write the notes. You haven't haven't changed that page or written any of these notes in the last whole page. That's not page one.
Well, I put it on the page.
Okay, so you should have filled in this right here,
Put it on one page.
this right there, and this right there. And once you got that, that's your equation.
How did you?
I just took the point, and it could have been, you could have used any point on that table. It doesn't matter. Okay, we're gonna go back and do one of the graphs, and we're gonna do one of those ones at the beginning too. We're gonna write the equations, and then we'll be done. Okay, so everybody got that equation? Yes.
Let's do
Question.
1/3 on it.
1/3 is
in.
the slope.
She
Oh, we
did.
figured out, sorry. Cause I zoomed in, you couldn't see it. The 1/3 right there. It's 2/6 or 3/9, it's gonna reduce to 1/3. Okay, flip back to the ones with the graphs. Let's look at the last one. So if I was gonna write the equation of this line, and I was given, this is my point, this is my slope. You should be able to write that equation now. Y minus the y number equals m times x minus the x number. So let's fill in some blanks. What's the y number?
-5.
-5. What's the m number?
-3/1.
-3/1. We're just going to do -3. Reduce it down for the equation. And then x minus the x number is also -3. So I'm going to have to rewrite this one because I have all these negatives. And a double negative is going to become positive. So it's y plus 5 equals,
3.
and that's going to stay negative. It's a -3. X
Why?
plus 3. Because there's not another minus in front of that. It's just a number.
Okay.
The only ones that change are the ones that have minus and negative. Okay, so we wrote that equation. You could probably go back and write the other two equations pretty easily, but we're not going to do all those. We're going to flip back to the very first page. Once everybody has that. Okay, so on the very first page, look at number 1. My slope is 2. And I was given 2 different points. I could either use 2, 3, or 4, 7. Which one do y'all want to use?
2, 3.
2, 3. First one I heard. Alright, so we're going to use 2 and 3, and our slope is 2. So down here, let's write this equation. Y minus the y number. What's the y number?
3.
3. Equals m. What's my m number?
2.
X minus the x number.
3. No, 2. That's
2. And you've written the equation. Okay, so any questions? You're just plugging numbers in where they go. You're not having to do any math with it, really. You're just putting them in the right spot. So this homework should be pretty easy homework. Any questions on point slope form or finding slope? Any of that kind of stuff?
No.
Y'all feel pretty good about this?
Yeah.
Okay, this one's an easy one.